Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
And I'm Brittany Pacheco, and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Brittany, just say the word.
I had to think about, like, what are you talking about? Shazam!
Word. There we go, exactly.
Good Lord.
Today we are here to discuss Shazam. Arguably, I think the best movie in the DCEU. But the reason why we're talking about it today is because next week, Shazam! Fear of the Gods, the sequel, comes out. Hits theaters on March 17th. So we thought we'd take a look back at the first movie, which I'm going to give you the Shazam facts right now.
How come every time we've said Shazam, we haven't turned into, like, our potential better selves?
I know. How awesome would that be? You just say the word and then you become a superhero.
I could be taller.
Right, you could be. Do you know what's that?
I said maybe you could be shorter. I don't know.
Maybe I could be not as blurry as I am for whatever reason. That'd be nice.
Smoke and mirrors, Justin. Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, little things. Brittany, speaking of Shazam, do you know like what the acronym stands for, or at least like his powers?
I know it's said in the dialogue from the wizard, like the strength of Hercules, something and something. There's like a lot. There's a lot, but no, I do not know the acronym.
So Billy Batson, all he has to do is say Shazam, and then he possesses the wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Hercules, the stamina of Atlas, the power of Zeus, the courage of Achilles, and the speed of Mercury. That's Shazam. This movie's been out since 2019. I still can't remember that. Every time I have to look it up. So I like this movie a lot. I just can't remember that. The acronym, the thing is like the powers don't go with the names. So it's like,
no,
they don't line up. So it's very like,
also we're mixing the Greek and the Latin names. So that's just weird.
Yep.
We'll go with that.
So the original Shazam movie, release date April 5th, 2019, a runtime of 2 hours and 11 minutes, a box office of 366 million worldwide, which makes it the eighth. It's only the 8th highest grossing DCU film, which as of right now, there's only been 12 DCU films. And I mean, honestly, you could say 11 technically, because one of them didn't go to the theaters, being Zack Snyder's Justice League. So it's one of the lowest grossing DCEU movies, which is disappointing. Directed by David F. Sandberg, stars Zachary, Levi, Mark Strong, Asher Angel, Jack Dylan Grazer, and Djimon Hounsou. Brittany, what are your overall thoughts of Shazam?
I did not watch this movie the first time when you, George, and was it Frank? Yeah, y'all did a review on Shazam many moons ago when it first came out. And it took me a while to finally watch the movie. Now, the first time I watched the movie, I wasn't really into wanting to watch the movie just because I don't care.
Yeah.
At the same time, I was pleasantly surprised how much I actually did enjoy the movie at the time. With that being said, the rewatch didn't hit me the same way as it did the first time.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised.
I'm a little surprised too, because unlike Ant-Man, the very first Ant-Man, when we did our rewatch, that movie has rewatchability. Me personally, Shazam doesn't possess that quality for all the acronyms in the world. Like, he just doesn't possess that rewatchability for me. Not to say it doesn't have its good parts. There are definite good parts of it. I feel at different moments in the movie, though, it just kind of dragged. And Freddie, Billy's friend, just kind of annoys me like a lot.
I think he's the best part of the movie.
Oh God, no, he annoys the mess out of me. And I'm sorry, but for me, I have very mixed feelings or opinions when it comes to this movie.
Wow. I thought we were going to be on the same page, because I actually was a big fan of this movie. I didn't see it opening weekend in 2019, but I saw it like the second week. I loved it. I thought it was great. But recently, like, I haven't been that excited about the sequel until I rewatched this movie. I rewatched this movie today, and I was like, I'm looking forward to seeing Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Whereas like a week ago, I was like, yeah, I don't really care. I mean,
I was just going to say, you and I had different feelings when it came down to the trailer. I said the trailer looked great, Fury of the Gods. I'm like, actually, I'm kind of excited to watch this movie because it looks good. It's got Lucy Liu. It's going to have Helen Mirren. Like, she's a living legend right now. and it just looked good. Maybe because of the soundtrack also kind of hyped me up with Eminem. But yeah, this movie, this rewatch, no, it didn't do it for me. Sorry.
Wow. Okay. I'm surprised by that. Very much surprised. So Shazam was the seventh film in the DCEU. And then the sequel is going to be they're making 4 more DCU movies that are coming out this year. So Fear of the Gods is the first of 4 we're going to get this year with the Fear of the Gods, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman and Lost Kingdom. So we're getting a lot of DCEU this year, which will in all likelihood be the end of the DCEU with James Gunn's plan going forward. But this movie, like I mentioned before, it was low, like as far as like it didn't make a ton of money at the box office, but critically, it has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, which ties it for second in the DCU. Brittany, what do you think is the highest rated movie in the DCEU?
Oh, in the DCEU. Will the Snyder Cut count?
No, it's not the highest one. I think you'll get the highest one. It's one that everyone likes.
For me, I mean, I like Wonder Woman. Like,
yeah, it's Wonder Woman.
Okay, good, because rightfully a better movie than this one. Just saying.
So at 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, Wonder Woman is the highest. The highest rated on Rotten Tomatoes. Shazam is tied for second with The Suicide Squad, which is James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Okay. It's worth noting that James Gunn Peacemaker Show, which is not a movie, which is a series on HBO Max, is actually the highest rated thing in the DCU at 94%. So James Gunn, there's a reason why people think it's a good idea to have James Gunn in charge of the DC films going forward. So that makes sense. No, I think so. I think it's gonna work out. I
know my feelings towards DC, so we're not gonna agree on this. So moving on.
Fair. So the one thing I always thought about this movie, and I still believe this movie to me feels like an MCU movie stuck in the DCEU. It's got a lot of comedy.
Yes, I will agree.
The world is not grim and dark and dreary like the other DCEU movies, or most of them are.
Yes, I agree.
Although there are a ton of references to other characters, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But to me, this movie is just a blast. Like I think it flies by. I like Freddy, played by Jack Dylan Grazer. To me, is the highlight of the movie. He's comedic gold. I think the kid's great. I honestly, the comedy in the whole movie is I think top notch. Like the reference to Game of Thrones. I always love that whenever Billy gets he's in this home with 5 other kids and the foster family, and Freddie says, he's like, yeah, they seem really nice. He's like, but it gets real Game of Thrones around here.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
No, there's definite comedic moments from Freddie. I just overall him as a character just annoys the mess out of me. He's that whiny kid in class, not whiny, but just the guy that just won't shut up. And it's like, you don't have to fill empty space with words. Like, just stop, like, just be quiet. And maybe that's just me as I've gotten older. Like, I don't want to be surrounded by unnecessary noise or people. And I don't know, for me, he just like really annoys me. But that's not to take away from his jokes and his enthusiasm when it came down to, for example, the testing of the different superpowers that Shazam has. Unbeknownst to them, the superhero name, right? He's making up all these different superhero names, like Captain Sparkle Fingers or some shit like that. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, like, let's actually go through the nicknames. So Here they are: Thundercrack, which sounds like some kind of butt thing they say in the movie.
It does.
Mr. Philadelphia,
that's
Power Boy, Power Boy, Captain Sparkle Fingers, Captain Thunder, Maximum Voltage, the Human Power Storm, Frequency Flinger, Sir Zapsalot.
I like that one.
And the Red Cyclone, which I think the Red Cyclone might be a superhero, like another superhero in the DC universe. I'm not totally sure, but yeah.
I like Sir Zapsalot.
Sir Zapsalot.
But I think Maximum Voltage is probably another good one, just because he is able to generate lightning or electricity from his hands, as we see demonstrated on the steps. Hands, lightning in my hands, lightning in my hands. Like, that's funny. Like, Zachary Levi is great. I like him as an actor. I thought his comedic moments were great as well, but just Freddie, like, shut up, Freddie. Just stop talking so much.
Yeah. As far as the nicknames, I appreciate the ones that have Captain in it, because obviously Shazam was referred to as Captain Marvel, when he was first created. And you notice the high school is like Fawcett Central. Well, Fawcett was the comics company that Shazam was created by. So
okay.
That's a nod to before DC acquired them. So
gotcha.
That's a nod to that. But you're talking about the testing of the superpowers. I think that's one of the highlights of the movie, is when Freddie and Billy test out Shazam's powers. And I love how he terms everything. Instead of like sparkle fingers, he says he has electricity manipulation, hyper speed, super strength, bullet immunity. Like, instead of being bulletproof, has bullet immunity, which I think is awesome. And we learned that in the convenience store whenever it's being held up, and
shoot at his face.
Yeah, shoot him in the face to test it out. And of course they shoot him and the bullet hits him and it flattens and he's like, "You're dead." And then he takes out the robbers or whatever. That's a great part.
Wraps, what do you call it? Christmas lights around both of them and throws them out the window. And then they do, because the fact that these are 14-year-old boys, right? Billy is bestowed these powers from the wizard played by I can never say his name properly.
It's Djimon Hounsou is how you pronounce it.
Djimon Hounsou, whatever. Yes, him. Yeah. He's the wizard who basically is looking for his champion so that they can keep in check the 7 deadly sins. Right? I'm not going to name them all because I don't remember them all. Don't really care.
I can read them right now.
I'm sure you can.
Pride, envy, greed, lust, wrath, gluttony, and sloth.
Okay, thank you. So that's the whole purpose of one obtaining these powers, right? The wizard found his champion who was pure of heart, who wouldn't be tempted by the 7 deadly sins. And it's in this 14-year-old boy who's constantly in trouble, it seems. He's looking for his mom, Billy Batson. And when he and Freddie are testing out these powers and go to the convenience store, save the convenience store, if you will, from these robbers, they do the 14-year-old thing, and that is get beer. Billy is Shazam, doesn't know that at this point, the name, and he doesn't get ID'd. He gets whatever he wants, and they, take a swig of beer, and they're like, that tastes like actual vomit. I agree. And then they go back and do the real 14-year-old thing, and that's just to get snacks, jalapeno jerky, chips, all the chips, and eat until your stomach bursts.
Exactly. No, I like how, Freddie is a disabled kid. And he loves superheroes. As we see in the movie, he's wearing Superman shirts. He's wearing Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman shirts. He's got a Batman, or he's got a Superman backpack. He's got the Batarang. He's got a bullet. Apparently the Superman was shot with. He's got all kinds of DC figures.
Memorabilia.
Tons of memorabilia. So he's way into it. He becomes Shazam's manager. And I like how he creates the YouTube channel, Hero Manager. That's his YouTube account. And he's putting all of Billy's, tests for, what powers he has or doesn't have on YouTube, which I think is a very cool idea. That, to me, that part seems especially MCU like, because, they're playing, one of the songs by Queen, and it's very funny. It's very upbeat. And to me, that's the whole feel of the whole movie. Honestly, I think the movie really delivers that feel and would fit much better with the Marvel Cinematic Universe than the DC extended universe.
Maybe it definitely has qualities of an MCU movie for sure. I just, Freddie, you're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me.
Well, what did you think about the other members of the Shazam family, or as they're referred to, the Shazamly, the other kids who
in the foster care?
Yeah, who are in the foster care who get powers. But what did you think about them as the child actors?
As a whole, I think they were great. You know, we don't get a whole heck of a lot from the child actor who plays Pedro because
Yeah,
his I guess character is meant to be pretty
he doesn't talk.
closed off, you know, soft spoken, that kind of thing.
Right.
Eugene, who's like the total gamer, hacker, what have you. I think he was funny. And Mary, who's like the oldest in the group, who's trying to figure out what she's going to do with the rest of her life about going to college and what have you, and her uncertainty about whether or not to go. That's something I think that's relatable to most people. And aside from Freddie as well, you know, then there's Darla. Darla is just like the cutest little sister that anyone could ask for. She's just very open and welcoming, and she just accepts Billy for who he is, and already calls her big brother, and wishes him to have a good first day of school. And she's just so cute. Like I think that's, the kid actors are great, but when they become the Shazam version of themselves, and those qualities carry over into the adult actors, I thought that was pretty great as well, especially with Darla.
Yeah, I thought the kid actors were great in this movie, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, we've often talked about like the little kid problem in these shows and movies.
Mm-hmm.
How, and like to me, like most of the time, these kids are very annoying in these movies and shows. To me, this one it was not at all. I think they're great. I think all the kids play their parts perfectly.
With the exception of Freddie, in my opinion.
I think Freddie. Well, we know my thoughts on Freddie. I think he's the best part of the movie, but
Yep.
I think they nail it. And then obviously, whenever they embody the powers of Shazam. I think it's a great sequence. And go ahead.
Just real quick, that scene alone, because this is happening towards the end of the movie, when Shazam has the staff, the same staff that the wizard had him hold and say my name, and you know, the powers are yours. That moment when Shazam is doing the same thing with the rest of the kids, and he says, "Say my name," and at once,
Yeah.
Billy, like,
Yeah.
no, say the name that I say to turn into this, and they're like, Shazam.
Yeah.
Man, that was funny. But
Yeah,
again,
no, that was a great part.
there are funny moments in this movie for sure. I also just have issues with a couple of things.
So two of the actors who play the Shazamly characters, they have or they had DC ties. So Adam Brody, who plays the adult version of Freddy, he was actually cast in a movie called Justice League Mortal that was going to be directed by George Miller, that was going to come out like in 2009. He was going to play the Flash. In that movie, famously, Armie Hammer was going to be Batman.
Oh my.
And actually, the guy who plays Pedro in this movie, the adult version of Pedro, the guy in the green muscled up guy, he was going to be Superman.
Oh,
which is very strange because he's a complete unknown, and to me, he doesn't really resemble Superman in any way. But maybe back in 2009, he looked closer to Superman than he does in this movie. But
maybe,
yeah, they were gonna be in this movie Justice League Mortal, which fell apart due to the writer's strike. So
naturally,
yeah. So anyway, that Justice League Mortal might be a pod for us to talk about it on its own one day because it's pretty interesting, the storyline, and just, I mean, it was a movie that was like they were set to go, and then
it got scrapped.
It just got scrapped. Yeah, there's like pictures of people in costumes online.
Yeah, DC and doing these movies or shows, and then it scrapping before they even air Batgirl. You know, it doesn't make me like DC that much, truth be told.
Yeah, they've had a lot of issues.
A little bit.
So we talked about the Shazam lead, but let's talk about the lead character and the actors that portray the lead character. So we have Zachary Levi, of course, plays Shazam, the adult version of Billy Batson. And we have Asher Angel, who plays the 14-year-old version of the character. What did you think about Shazam in this movie, played by Zachary Levi and Asher Angel?
Oh my gosh, I think Zachary Levi really displayed his inner teenager by being Shazam. Just, it's kind of a fun take of, you know, you're an adult, you're like anywhere between mid-20s, early 30s, and you're behaving like you're a 14-year-old, because that's obviously who he is in real life. I think that was just a fun part of watching an adult kind of just be a kid again, if you will. And then with Billy, the Asher Angel, I was not knowing anything about him prior to this movie. Still don't know anything about him even after this movie. I was impressed with him as well from the first moment that we met him. When he encaged the cops at that pawn shop or convenience store or whatever. I think it was pawn shop, and outsmarting them so that he can utilize their computer system to try to find his mom. And I felt like Billy as the teenager was far more mature than Zachary Levi as Shazam, which is such a funny take on these characters. But yeah, like I think they played their roles very well. What about you?
I agree. I think like all the child actors to the adult actors, I think it's like a perfect like 1-for-1. How they feel like the same character, as their 20 years difference in the people. So
for sure,
but it's well done. So let's talk about the villain in this movie. The villain is Dr. Thaddeus Savannah, played by Mark Strong. Now, Savannah, Mark
Strong.
Yeah, he's a scientist who was as a kid he was turned down for being the champion by the wizard, and he has this awful family. And Brittany, watching the scenes with this guy's family reminded me of last week when we talked about Harry Potter. And I wonder if like Savannah is related to the Dursleys, because these people, and also Billy's mom in this movie, there's so many characters lately in these movies we watch where they just hate kids. Like,
yeah, the only adults I was rooting for in this movie were the foster parents. Like from the jump, they were just cool. Like how they interacted with Billy and how they were kind of calling each other out. I'm like, I can get down with this couple. Like, I think they're super cool, super great. Yeah. How Thaddeus's father treated him even as a child, and how the brother treated him as a child, from childhood to the moment that we see them again in their adulthood, they're quite horrible. So I can see the correlation about them and the Dursleys. And Billy's mom. Listen, I went to school with a bunch of young women who had children in high school, and I cannot think of any single one of them who openly let their child go because he got away from them, found by police, and the mother looking onto the child and be like, you know what? He's going to have a better life if I'm just not around. Like, what the hell? Like, I get you're 17 years old. I get that you were kicked out. Again, I went to school with a bunch of girls who had similar situations, but they knew their responsibility. Not everyone's situation is the same. I know, don't come at me, people. Like, I get it. But like, this really just made me hate adults, like, and parents as a whole. Like, I felt really bad for Billy. And especially when he was reunited with his mom and she's just like, nah, bruh, like I'm not about you. I'm not about having you in my life. And I'm like, wow, you can go fuck yourself and die.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, the Savannahs obviously did, they did foster and create a supervillain, but it's surprising that Billy isn't a supervillain also, just from his upbringing or lack thereof. The mom she sucks. That's just no other way to say it. Like, brutal character. And the Savannah family, same way, like you mentioned.
Yeah, you hear stories about kids in foster care, and Billy's character seems to be one who tries to do what he wants or needs to do in order to find his mom, because he is just of this belief that she just couldn't find me, but I'm going to find her and we're going to be a family again. So he's gone through the system. He's gone through like 6 or 7 foster homes. And you hear stories, right? You hear stories about kids in foster care, and maybe they're not the best in character, but Billy seems to be all right. Like, he's got a pretty good head on his shoulders. And Savannah was just, you have all the privilege in the world, it seems, and yet you're just mad that you weren't picked to be the champion because you were not pure of heart, sir.
Yeah. Well, his dad and his brother had a little bit to do with that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that his dad is played by John Glover, who has played a lot of things in DC, but most famously to me, he was Lionel Luthor He was a Lex Luthor's dad on Smallville. So
Mhm.
that was a crucial
Okay.
role for him. He was also in Batman, was it Batman Forever or Batman and Robin? He was in Batman and Robin. He was on the animated series. I think he was a Riddler on the animated series. So
Oh, okay.
he's done a lot of work with DC.
He's
But
involved.
yeah,
He's
Lionel Luthor is definitely his main character in the DC universe.
Yeah, I think Dr. Savannah and David from The Last of Us in this most recent episode, I think they would be kindred spirits with the violent heart.
I think so.
Man, that's rough.
Yeah, yes, it is. So something else about this movie that makes it feel like an MCU film to me as opposed to DC is the fact that the movie is set in a real place. It's set in Philadelphia, whereas in DC, you have Gotham City, you have Metropolis, you have Atlantis, you have Central City, you have Themyscira, all these made up places, which pretty much dominate the DC universe. But here, they're just in Philly. They're in Philadelphia. It feels like Philadelphia. It looks like Philadelphia. You got the Rocky statue and the steps.
Because it is.
No, I know, but I mean, like, sometimes they say they're like in California and you can tell they're in Atlanta. You know what I mean? So it's like,
for sure.
By the way, I think that the sequel is actually shot in Atlanta. So just that'll be kind of funny to see that. But no, it feels like it's in the real world, which is so weird for DC to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's again that kind of Marvel quality where the superheroes live in the real world and it's just accepted by everyone that there are superheroes or enhanced beings, if you will, that just roam the world and occasionally save the day. I think that's also a cool thing. It's just like, it's kind of weird sometimes, yeah, because it's like, oh, okay, so we're not gonna question about this new superhero, Captain Sparklefingers. Like we're just gonna openly accept him with welcomed arms, right?
Yeah. And something else that's very MCU like is this movie not only does it have a mid-credit scene, but it has a post-credit scene. So you have that. The mid-credit scene is pretty cool. Pretty like, well, I'm sorry. No. That's actually the end of the movie. So let's talk about the end of the movie where we get a headless Superman appearance. Apparently Henry Cavill was not available to film this scene. And in the movie, Freddy is obviously a big fan of superheroes. He's trying to get Billy, aka Shazam, to eat with him in lunchrooms to make him look cool amongst the kids. The first time this is kind of
attempted
mentioned, Shazam doesn't show up, but at the end Shazam appears and he has a friend with him. And again, it's the Superman costume from Man of Steel or Justice League, but it's actually Zachary Levi's body double, or his stuntman is actually the guy who's in the Superman suit. We don't see Superman's face.
Freddy's reaction was great.
Yeah.
Is because like you said, Shazam comes in and he says, "Oh, Freddie Freeman, my best friend," and I'm here making a big to do with the whole cafeteria watching, and he says, "Oh, I hope you don't mind. I brought a friend," and from the opposite end, you see the headless. Well, it's so weird to say headless Superman walking towards the table with a tray of food, and Freddie turns around. It's like. It's a great reaction because I feel like that would genuinely be any person's reaction despite your age. Justin, you're wearing a Superman shirt right now. I feel that would probably be more or less your reaction if your superhero friend brought the Man of Steel.
I just wish it was Cavill because as we know, Henry Cavill then did make a cameo in Black Adam, and Black Adam does have some ties to Shazam. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yep.
But I wish Henry Cavill could have been a part of this. I think like honestly, the way Shazam paints the world is probably the way Henry Cavill would have wanted to portray Superman. Because like I mentioned earlier, in this movie, there's superheroes are like they are here in our world where like there's dolls and there's a Batman figure and there's all kinds of stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
Merchandise, all kinds of stuff. And they're presented like in a, people like them. They're cool. It's like your favorite sports team or whatever, you wear your favorite superhero shirt. Whereas like in the rest of the DCU movies, the superheroes like don't really want to be superheroes and they like the people don't really love them. It's very weird, but obviously Shazam, once he breaks on the scene, he's being covered by the local media and people are
Tipping him.
interested. Yeah, tipping him. And like obviously Freddie's YouTube channel is blowing up, which I wish that would happen with ours also. Maybe we can talk to Freddie about that, get some SEO tips, or
there we go.
maybe get Shazam to do some test videos on our channel. But you know what I mean? Like superheroes are beloved in this part of the DCEU universe, or the world.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the rest of them, it's not that way. And that's why it kind of doesn't fit to me. And that's why I think Shazam is going to continue in the DCU later on. I think even though like they do reference the DCEU characters a lot. I mean, and hell, I mean, I think, I guess thankfully we didn't get Henry Cavill's face in this movie because then he directly would be tied to the DCEU. Shazam would be. But no, I just think that like, I think Cavill, looking back, he probably wishes he would have been in this movie because this is a fun movie. This is a liked movie by a lot of people. And it shows, and Superman's suit is like very bright, where it's never that bright in BVS or Man of Steel or Justice League.
You're right. It's not.
Hell, in the Snyder Cut, he wears a black suit. He wears the suit from the comics from when
and he looks good in that black suit.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's not like you need to like he should have like ended the movie wearing the blue and red traditional stuff, but
I don't care. He could have been shirtless for all I care. It's fine.
Well, I understand, but like for Superman fans, like, he wears the blue and red suit primarily.
It's iconic. It's very, very Superman, of course. Yeah. No, I get it. No, I think with the addition of Cavill, that would have been cool. It probably may or may not helped him stay as Superman. I'm not sure.
I think it might have. I think that maybe it would.
Damn you, James Gunn.
No, I don't think it's James Gunn's fault.
I think it's James Gunn's fault.
No, I don't think it is at all, honestly.
Okay.
No, because James Gunn wasn't in charge in 2019.
Nah, that's okay.
No, I don't think
I'm still gonna blame him. It's fine.
Yeah, no, it's not his fault. So after that, after the way the movie ends, then we get the credits, which again, the credits are super fun. It reminds me of Deadpool or Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
One of the Deadpool movies, like where you've got the drawings of the character. Yeah, like that's so like, again, that is totally not like the rest of the DCEU.
No. So
like, again, this movie just like sticks out in a good way, like a sore thumb. To me, it does.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I mean, there's, as I said, there's qualities about it that I did enjoy, but there are some issues with it that I don't tend to look at my phone when I'm watching a movie, especially when I'm really into the movie. And with this rewatch, for me, it was just like, okay, this is boring. Like, let me check my phone. And I was doing that a couple of times, like middle to the end, because it just, to me, there were just parts in it that were just so dragged out that was possibly unnecessary. I'm not sure, but yeah, that for me is the drawback of this movie.
Yeah, I understand. And I just want to say, I appreciate you talking to me about these movies, because no one else in the watchers will even watch the movies or talk about it. So
listen, some of them have very strong feelings about DC, more so than me. So
yeah. But I think DC's going to have a big bounce back. I really do. Not that I'm rooting against the MCU, because I love the MCU and I love the movies they've put out recently. I don't hate these movies like a lot of other people do, but
yeah,
I think the DCEU or the DC, just DC in general, I think when the Flash hits theaters, it's really going to have a huge impact. I feel very confident about that.
Your optimism disturbs me, but that's fine. It's okay.
I think people are going to like that movie. I think people are going to be excited for what's coming next, even though it's going to be something completely different. But yeah, so
we shall see.
Anyway, I'm definitely looking forward to the sequel now after seeing this movie, though, which I wasn't before that. So
fair.
So let's get to the mid-credits scene, which it's kind of strange. It shows, obviously Savannah is defeated by Shazam during the movie, and we're not going to go through the whole movie, obviously, but Shazam, defeats Savannah. He's imprisoned, and he's like, scrawling on the wall these symbols that he thinks he saw, or that he saw from the wizard, and how he got his powers from the 7 deadly sins.
Yep. And
he gets approached by a talking caterpillar. Now, Brittany,
this is some Alice in Wonderland shit.
Do you have any idea what this talking caterpillar's name is?
Of course not.
Of course you don't. You know what? I grew up a fan of DC comics and DC
Okay.
shows and movies, but I didn't know who this was. It was actually Mr. Mind, an alien life form that looks like a caterpillar. And
Okay.
in this movie is voiced by the director David F. Sandberg. So
Oh,
the
goodness.
voice is like it's kind of
Is he too robotic?
it's too cheesy, honestly.
Yeah.
It's not a
Also,
great mid
a
credit scene.
caterpillar?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, and also like I don't much like okay, so the DCU, not all the movies had mid credits or post credits, but the ones that did, I don't think any of them went anywhere. Like the MCU, for the most part, the those lead to things where you see characters fairly
Yeah.
soon or it makes sense.
Yes.
But in the DCU, none of them went anywhere. And I don't think that Savannah or Mr. Mind is going to be in the sequel. Now, I don't know, but I don't think they will be. Or if they are, they're probably briefly in the movie. But we'll have to see about that.
I mean, just based on the sequel for Fury of the Gods, it doesn't appear he's directly involved. I don't know if this caterpillar either is going to be directly involved. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird concept to kind of set up for a sequel. It's like, really, that's how you're going to cliffhanger it? You fucking caterpillar, like,
Yeah.
again, this is some Alice in Wonderland shit. Like, what are we smoking? You know, who are you? Seriously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Mr. Mind is a Shazam villain in a way, so that's that makes sense. But one of the, whether he's in the sequel or not, we'll have to wait and see. I don't know, but I have heard that the sequel does have a post credit and a mid credit scene.
Okay.
And it also has a major character who's in the movie in a cameo kind of role. So, and I know who it is, and I'm not going to say, but I'm looking forward to see how that plays out. So we'll see about that. But one thing about Shazam, which is very awkward in this movie, is The Rock. So The Rock is involved in this movie, but Black Adam is not really involved in this movie. And so obviously The Rock plays Black Adam. He signed up to play Black Adam a long time ago.
Right.
This movie is, it was produced by New Line Cinema, DC Films, the Safran Company, which that's Peter Safran, who is now the co-CEO of James Gunn of DC's films.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also produced by Seven Bucks Productions, which is Danny Garcia, The Rock's ex-wife and manager, her like father or brother or something, Hiram Garcia, and The Rock himself. Dwayne Johnson is one of the executive producers for this movie. Dwayne Johnson. Now, if in this movie, you notice there's one scene where there's like a holographic version of Black Adam. They show him for like 2 seconds because the Wizard talks about his first champion and how his first champion. And that does look like, I mean, it's a very good version of Black Adam.
Oh,
right. Yeah.
Okay, now that does make sense. I was trying to like connect the dots. Like, what are you talking about? The reference of Black Adam in this movie? I'm like, there wasn't one. Now that makes sense. You're
but
right.
What I'm saying is, so in Shazam comics, like Black Adam is Shazam's main villain.
Mm-hmm.
Like like Shazam fights Black Adam and vice versa. I mean, they have the same, they have the same power set. They have the same deal where in Black Adam, well, he gets his powers. He loses his powers because he says Shazam. It's the same thing, right? They're both.
But the suit is very similar. It's just Black Adam's is more.
It's black.
Black.
His is black. Yeah.
Okay.
But they have the same powers.
That makes sense now.
They're rivals in the comics traditionally. Now, more recently, Black Adam has become kind of an anti-hero, which I think is what The Rock was going for in his movie. But to not have Black Adam appear in Shazam is very strange. In fact, the director, David F. Sandberg, he was asked about would The Rock or would Black Adam appear in these movies? And he said he's never met The Rock, even though The Rock is the executive producer.
Oh, Lord.
And reportedly he turned down a cameo role in Shazam Fury of the Gods, a sequel movie. So it's very strange that The Rock is involved in these movies, but then the character he plays is not in these movies because he doesn't want to be in these movies, but they should be. It's like if like Batman and the Joker were separated. Like it's like it doesn't like you'd put them in the same movie. You know what I mean?
I understand not putting Black Adam in this first movie because the fact that you have Savannah as the villain. If you teed it up with the mid-credit or post-credit where you have Black Adam as possibly teaming up with Savannah to take down Shazam.
Right.
Then I understand that.
Right.
Not
Or
a caterpillar.
yeah. And the thing is also like in the comics and like there's an animated movie where, you know, as we saw, Superman had a cameo in this movie. Superman cameoed in the Black Adam movie. Superman, Shazam, and Black Adam kind of have a thing in the comics where they kind of fight each other. I mean, Superman and Shazam are usually on the same team, but it's like, to me, like to not have Black Adam, and it's solely because The Rock didn't want to, for him to not be a part of these movies, it's such a bad move. And
so strange.
Again, that's something else that probably would have helped continue the DCU past obviously this year when it's going to end. So
maybe I'm not sure.
I just think, but to me, it's like you're trying to create a connected universe, but then it's not connected like that. So like, then don't be connected. You know what I'm saying? But they wanted for it to be connected, but not connected. Doesn't make any sense. But that's what they did with the DCU. So that's why
multiverse.
Right. That's why it's going to go away. And then there's a post-credit scene where it's basically just a joke about Aquaman, where Freddy and Shazam do a test to see if Shazam can talk to fish. So, and Freddy's wearing an Aquaman shirt. So, you know, just the talking to fish joke, which has been played up in 3 or 4 different projects in the DCEU. Yeah. So, yeah, again, the Rock stuff is, to me, it's baffling. But
very. I didn't realize that he was an executive producer on this movie as well as the sequel.
Yeah. Well, and see, that's also what's interesting is Danny Garcia, who is the Rock's ex-wife. She was, maybe still is, Henry Cavill's representative or agent. So it's very
more weird.
Yeah, and
is this vendetta against the Rock? Like, what is happening?
No. Like it's I mean, like she's still close with the Rock. Like
no, I get that, but she reps for Henry Cavill.
Right.
The Rock and she are involved in this movie. The Rock doesn't want to be involved in the Shazam movie. He had Superman as in a cameo for Black Adam, and then James Gunn parted ways with both The Rock and Henry Cavill. Like,
right.
The Rock is kind of central in all of this. So do I really need to blame him at this point?
I mean, The Rock was trying to take over DC because at that point there was a leadership vacuum. There was a void. You know, there wasn't anybody in charge, which we know something about that in other areas of life. But
he was very unsuccessful with taking over the Fast franchise because, you know, whatever, Vin Diesel.
Well, I mean,
they're not family.
No, but but you know, also like speaking of The Rock, and this is like topical because the XFL came back. The XFL is owned by The Rock and Danny Garcia. So
that's so strange.
Yeah, it's
this is a weird world we live in.
Very strange.
Glad that exes can get along. I think, you know, that's good. Yeah, but the fact that they're still in business together, that to me is baffling.
They are very much in business together. Like, no doubt about it.
She knew what she was going to give up. All right, I admire that. Happy International Women's Day, everyone.
There we go. No, I wish it would have worked out with all of this stuff because, you know, going back and watching these movies and watching this movie and thinking about some of the other movies in the DCEU, they're not as good as the MCU. Don't get me wrong, but there was good stuff in there. And if someone was in charge that was level-headed, like it could have worked and it could have continued. And that's a bummer because I think they casted people really well. Much like how the MCU has been very good at casting.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
The DCU was very good at casting, and they just didn't have a plan. And
that's unfortunate.
Like, even in these, like, mini, like, universes, like just the Shazam, Black Adam stuff, it didn't connect, and that just doesn't make sense. So,
yeah, it's not setting up for a successful legacy.
No.
Not at all.
No, but I'm interested to see the sequel, Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
Same.
I hope Shazam continues in the DCU. I don't know for sure if that's going to happen or when, but to me, it's like like Shazam and Black Adam and like Peacemaker, these characters, for example, right, which are in the DCU, but they might continue in the DCU. to me, these are characters where if they don't continue, you're not going to see them recasted right away because who cares? You know what I mean? Like I mean, I'd never heard of Peacemaker until like 2 years ago. So like, there's no reason to have another Peacemaker when you've had someone famous like John Cena play Peacemaker. And the same way with Shazam, you're not going to like recast Shazam maybe 10 years down the road whenever you've got this storyline with all these other superheroes that you've introduced, and you know, you're telling the stories of Batman and Robin and Superman and Wonder Woman, all this stuff, which you need to introduce a new Shazam or a new Black Adam or a new Peacemaker. So I think those characters might continue just because like they're just kind of like people just learned who they are recently, and like why would you start over with those characters? Whereas Superman, you could reboot Superman 10 times in 20 years and it would make sense because there always should be some kind of Superman and people know Superman. So I mean, we look at Batman, it happens all the time. Like, you know,
fair.
We have a different Batman every time almost. So
that's definitely fair.
Yeah,
definitely fair.
It works out. So
it's a very rare situation when a Batman exists for more than 2 movies. Like Christian Bale had 3, which was good. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Michael Keaton was 2, Val Kilmer for 1, George Clooney for 1. I don't know about any other ones.
Ben Affleck did 3, kind of 4. Well, he did Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
He had a cameo in Suicide Squad.
That's right.
A little more than a cameo, but he was in Suicide Squad.
Right.
Obviously, he was in Justice League. And then, of course, there's the Snyder cut of Justice League.
It's one and the same.
Well, but he does have a cameo in The Flash.
That's true.
You know that. So
yeah. Okay. Well, might have a new winner here. And we can get rid of Affleck. I'm over him. Don't need him.
Well, I do think The Flash will be his final appearance.
Good.
Yeah. I like Affleck as Batman. Again, if they had a better plan, better story, they could have made it work. But they didn't. So anyway, Brittany, final thoughts on Shazam.
So Shazam, for someone who was a late bloomer to it, the first time I watched it, yes, I was like, okay, you know what? I definitely didn't give it a fair shot in my own head. Rewatch for me, I think because it's been a couple years since I've seen it, and I've grown or I've changed as a person, and there's just things that annoy me more so than they did a couple years ago. Maybe it's just the fact that I've been working from home for the last 3 years and I don't like people around me anymore. There's parts of Shazam that kind of annoy me or it's kind of dragged. Overall, I think people do need to give it an honest chance, especially because if you've seen the sequel for Shazam Fury of the Gods, to me, that trailer, when I saw it while watching Ant-Man, I'm like, that looks really cool. Like, okay, I need to go rewatch Shazam so I remember like what's going on and who these characters are. So I think for that alone is a reason to go and watch this movie, just so you have the foundation of the character. And I don't know if the storylines are going to collide from this movie to the next, but overall, I think it's a movie worth watching at least once.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love this movie. I love Shazam. And I should note that so the trailer you're talking about for Shazam is the most recent one. However, the first one of this was released before James Gunn took over. And the first trailer made reference to Ezra Miller's Flash. It made reference to Ben Affleck's Batman, and it made reference to Aquaman. And it's kind of a funny scene. I wonder if the scene's still in the movie, because there's a scene where Shazam he's seeing his quote unquote doctor, or it looks like he's with a psychiatrist, right? But it turns out the guy's just like a pediatrician, you know. But he's like laying on the doctor's couch, and he's like telling him like, oh, there's already a superhero in red with a lightning bolt on his chest, and like Aquaman's so manly and Batman's so cool, and they show these characters from the DCEU, and so I wonder now if those characters are still going to be involved in or referenced in the movie.
Or did they have to pivot?
Right, because I do like that trailer better than the one that came out more recently. I mean, it's similar stuff, but
I don't think I remember that trailer that you're talking about. If I do, it's like bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
I feel like I recall him being in a doctor's office, but no, this trailer, the one that I saw, as I said, to go watch Quantumania, I don't know if it was the soundtrack or just like the action pieces that they decided to include in that trailer, seeing Helen Mirren as a goddess, if you will. I mean, she's coming around more. Like you're seeing her in more things. And I think with this latest trailer with Shazam talking about, I've seen the Fast and the Furious movies and it's all about family. Helen Mirren is in Fast and Furious. Like, what the heck? I think that's hilarious to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe those little bits and pieces that are kind of getting me a little hyped up. I'm preparing myself to be possibly disappointed. I don't like to go into movies with expectations anymore because I just don't. But yeah, I don't know. These last couple of trailers that have come out have actually got me excited to see Shazam.
Yeah. And that first trailer, I should note that this movie is coming out. It's coming out March 17th. Originally, it's supposed to come out December 16th of last year, of 2022.
Oh, that's right.
It was like going to go head to head with Avatar 2, which obviously was a good decision, although I'm sure I would much rather watch Shazam than Avatar.
There was no way in hell I was going to see Avatar. Right. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither.
No.
But yeah, so it comes out March 16th. The sequel does, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it should be a good time.
And we'll be back to review Shazam: Fury of the Gods shortly after it premieres.
Yeah, we will. Very cool. So thanks, Brittany. Now that you know what we think about Shazam, we want to know what you think about Shazam. And Brittany, how can people tell us?
Let us know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on the 2019 Shazam movie. And also let us know if you're going to go watch the sequel that comes out in the coming week. Like I said, we'll be back to review it the following week, most likely. So in the meantime, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. At present time, we are at 230 subscribers, Justin. So we are on the way. Yeah. Let's get it to 300, 350, 400. Let's get it to 500, y'all. Like make it happen. Okay. Don't forget to like this video as well. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Watchers Basement. You can also help grow our audience by using hashtag Watchers Basement, especially on Twitter. You can send us articles, memes, shows that you want us to watch, as well as movies, things that you think we just need to keep on our watch list. Tell your friends, family, coworkers, neighbors, what have you. Spread the word about us, y'all. And you can also find us for audio podcasts on Apple, Google, and Spotify, thanks to Anchor.fm. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating.
Thank you, Brittany. And yeah, like Brittany said, we appreciate everybody who subscribes, who likes our videos, who listens to us on Spotify or other Apple podcasts. Like, please keep doing that. It definitely helps us. We really appreciate it. So for Brittany, this is Justin saying, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a good evening. Goodbye.